Hi everyone, this is Heather O'Connor. Thanks for joining me on Facebook Live. I'm here today with Geraldine Thomas. She's a professional organizer and someone I need desperately to talk to. She's going to be here today to talk a little bit about organization and keeping stress down when we're organized. Thanks for joining us, Geraldine.
My pleasure.
So we talked a little earlier about how disorganization is really correlated with stress.
Right.
Can you give me some examples of ways that...
Or you end up paying penalty fees. So if you don't have a schedule for your bills, as an example, to log on and pay your bills when you're supposed to, you may end up paying penalty fees. Or if you're an online shopper and there's a deadline to return things, oftentimes people won't set a little reminder in their calendar to return it on time, and then you miss out on the return.
Oh my goodness,
credit.
So it sounds like preparation is a huge part of keeping stress at bay and staying organized.
Absolutely.
Can you give me some tips on how to be more prepared?
Okay, so let's prepare for an emergency. Let's say that you are in a cafe or a club and your handbag is hanging off the back of your chair and it's stolen.
No!
Yes, it happens. So what I would suggest is go ahead now, before this happens, and photocopy all of your credit cards, your driver's license, your valuable documents. Put it in a safe place at home, or send it to your mother or sister, somebody that you can trust, so that if that were to happen, you immediately remember everything that was in your wallet.
Oh, what a good idea. So you're prepared for a potential mishap. That would be terrible.
Or hurricane season, for example. Mm-hmm. So go through a checklist, make sure that there's fresh water, that your pets have pet food, that you have a change of clothes, your prescriptions have been filled, you have an extra pair of eyeglasses, for example, if something were to happen, and just enough food, of course. Charge your phones, just the things that people don't think about when they're stressed out.
Mm-hmm. What about the day-to-day and how to keep stress at bay for tomorrow, for instance?
Prepare the day before. So get into a routine when you walk into your house. If you're the person that can't ever really find your keys in the morning as it's time to go, I tell people, if you're a person that packs your lunch to go to work, put your keys in the refrigerator next to your lunch. So make your lunch at night, charge your phone, put your keys and your lunch together on a shelf in the fridge, or your bus pass, or whatever it is that you need.
Keys in the fridge. I think that's a really good idea.
Right. And sometimes it's important to know that whatever your learning style is, not everybody is going to have a nice little landing pad when they walk in with a bowl for their keys. So creative people crave novelty. So anybody with ADHD listening to this, what works for 30, 60, 90 days isn't probably going to work a year from now. They have to keep changing it up to keep things interesting.
Oh, that's really interesting. So if not a bowl, then a vase, or
right, next to your bed, or in your cereal bowl the next morning, something like that.
Okay, this is clever. I like this. My husband could use this too. Very helpful. Thank you. What about, you talked earlier about people have different styles for how they want to tackle tasks, and it helps them to stay organized if they know what that is. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Do you mean
the
becoming
rocks?
Oh, of course.
Salmon.
So yeah, be true to yourself. Don't try to be a poser and imitate somebody else's style. So when I work with clients, I try to figure out, are you more productive and energetic in the morning, or are you a late night person? It is absolutely pointless trying to work with somebody when they tell me they're a night owl and set a 10 a.m. appointment. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
Know yourself, be true to yourself. And then figure out what motivates you more. Are you a person that likes to get the big tasks done first, the most miserable things that you can come up with on your to-do list? Are you going to feel like you're accomplishing more by doing those tasks first? Or the opposite type of person would prefer to do all the little things and see that nice big, many checklists, many checks on their checklist being accomplished. So you're either going to do the big rocks first, or the small grains of sand, or somewhere in the middle, the pebbles, I call them.
Thank you for that. I love that you told us about that without being judgmental. Any one of those is a fine person to be.
Sure. Yeah,
you don't have to tackle any of them in any particular way.
Right.
I like that. Thank you. Before we wrap up, I'd like to know a little bit more about how what it is about disorganization that perpetuates stress. You talked earlier about literally like the psychological aspects of that. And it was something about flight and fight. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Some of us freeze when we don't know what to do. We're stressed out and we absolutely become paralyzed. And what I've found in my business, how that looks, is the people that tend to freeze and not be able to make a decision tend to have more perfectionistic ways about them. So I'll give you an example. I'm working with a woman in her home and she wanted to completely declutter. She called it her Swedish death cleaning, because there's a book right now that's very popular with that. So I was saying, let's go ahead and just start with she likes to do the small stuff. She wants a big check, lots of checks on her checklist. So I said, let's start with something mindless. Let's get rid of any socks that don't have mates, or pair up the Tupperware, without lids or bottoms or whatever. And she really could not move forward. And her reasoning was because she said that she didn't want to tackle the Tupperware cabinet because she wanted to paint the inside of the cabinet, get the perfect shelf liner, get all new things. That's when I hear somebody who's a perfectionistic, right? Perfectionistic person. So she becomes paralyzed. Or other people tend to flee. So they would be your procrastinators. Okay, we have to get sometimes I work with college students. You have a term paper, you're going to be moving out of this whatever house in 3 weeks when the semester ends. So let's go ahead and make a little timeline for you. I'll check back in with him and he'll say, I didn't get anything done on the timeline. My term papers are due. I have to move. I haven't called the moving company. And I'll say, well, let's talk about what you did do. Well, I decluttered my DVR. I went through all the photos on my phone. So he's doing things, but they're just not associated with his end goal.
So not the right thing. So there's something about prioritization that has to fit in there too.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh. And just getting it done versus getting it done right.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is all really good advice. Before we wrap up, can you help me figure out how I'm going to prepare for tomorrow? Just by day ahead.
Sure. Set your coffee maker the night before. That's easy. Lay out your clothes. If you go to the gym, pack your gym bag. Set an alarm and put, bright lights or whatever need to come on to wake you up if you're not a morning person. And go over your schedule. Take time to look at your calendar and try to plan for anything that's coming up.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I needed that advice. Thanks for joining us, Geraldine.
My pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Facebook Live.